Hello.
We're live.
We're live. Watch out.
Finally.
We did it. Slightly late. Sorry about that.
Yes.
It's a Monday.
We have boys that don't want to
We
cooperate.
have babies that don't want to sleep, but that's okay. It happens.
I'm going to make sure that we are going. Give me
Yes. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us, some likes. Feel free to comment. Let us know where you're coming from this evening. Woohoo!
We're going. Yep, there we go.
There we go. We are live. So super pumped, you guys. It has been a couple weeks. We are enjoying some family vacation time together.
We got back from vacation.
So that was awesome. And now we're ready to run hard again. And
we're in trouble.
Why?
Because of the stuff we saw on vacation, don't you think?
Oh, yes.
We should talk about that because it's very...
It'll lead into this.
Yeah,
that'll be perfect. Sure. So, okay. For those of you that do not know, part of our family trip we spent at Universal Studios in Orlando. And I'm sorry to laugh, but I just think it's dumb. I was trying to figure out why, outside of every roller coaster or intense physical ride, there were these test seats with the harness systems that would pull down over your head to test out in front of the ride before you ever stepped in line to wait.
Well, and this may come off as being judgmental, but we're both people watchers when we go on vacation. And
I love to people watch. He actually laughs at me.
And let me preface this: like, we are in trouble, and this isn't.
Yes, it's out of love. It really is meaning well.
And what I mean is not politically. We may be in trouble there too, but
different
health.
Issue.
The health of this country.
Oh, we're in such big trouble.
We're in deep shit. And ironically, in 2018 is when we took our oldest to Disneyland at the time.
Disney World.
Mm-hmm. And we actually did a video about it when we got back about the health of our children and how we saw children at the park that were just severely obese and things like that.
Severely overweight.
But hey, guys, I see a bunch of people popping on now.
Hello.
We're just kind of covering our vacation a little bit, and we're talking about what we saw as far as the health of this country and where we're headed. And that's going to tie into what we're talking about tonight with it, which is fasting.
Yep.
And why you'd want to do that and why you'd want to put yourself through that and how to do it and how to do it safely and all that stuff. So sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there, but I wanted to make sure people understand
what
we're talking about. And we're not trying to belittle anybody that's on their health journey. No. We're not trying to do any of that, but just a pure observation and what we saw through the pandemic of people think health is in a needle or health is in a medication. And the bottom line is none of that is there to fix the problem. And so we're gonna talk about that. So
yeah.
But let us know where you're watching from. Say hello.
Yes, say hello to us. So continuing on the story, I figured out from my people watching that now some people think it's fun to pull down these and snap a photo because obviously you can't do that when you're on the ride. However, the reason why they're outside every major attraction that has these systems is to test
if you can fit
in the seat
yes.
and harness your system, like your body, into that system safely. So that for your safety, if you do not fit into the system,
can't ride the ride.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh. And then it just made me sad because trust me, you guys, like I said, there's a few people taking selfies and fun things outside of the rides, but a lot of the people hopping in and out of those seats were really, really overweight.
Because I mean, this is a tough subject to talk about.
Yeah.
You and Dr. Jessica talk about it every day.
Yeah, every day with patients.
Yeah, and
it comes up in our office. It walks through our door. Guys, not all of our patients are an ideal weight or where they want to be.
Right.
Maybe they're not 100 pounds overweight, but they're also not where they want to be.
Right.
So this is something that we are super familiar with. But you guys, like, there's ways to help your body and your health. And there's ways to hurt it.
Yeah.
Which is why we're bringing up fasting, because, like, it's definitely asked a lot. intermittent fasting, dry fasting, Ramadan fasting. I mean, there's so many, it's confusing. And when is it okay? And when is it not okay? And so it's definitely something brought up I often find as a quick fix.
Well, I'm actually surprised we haven't talked about this.
Yeah,
but,
true.
I was just talking to a couple buddies about this yesterday. And then someone else commented, hey, do you guys have something about it? And I'm like, we probably talked about it in and out through some of the videos, but
touched on it,
but actually have it be the focal point. And I've been fasting a shit ton lately, so let's get into it. So what else? Do you have anything else about on vacation? Or
I think you guys just please, especially when you're involved with the next generation. I think that's not that it doesn't hurt me like with an adult, but oh my gosh, with your kids, please try to teach them. Or if you're an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent, like please try to teach those babies healthy habits. Even if you're not 100% perfect, just showing them that this is what broccoli is. Like just opening their eyes. If maybe they don't cook with their parents or you yourselves aren't doing a great job as a family, just make an effort once a week to sit down and cook and have a family meal. Like the statistics even of just doing that are so good to at least just introduce those habits for these kids.
I think the big thing that I saw was when we went there in 2018, there were some like scooters and stuff, but now
a few.
I mean, it was probably triple, if not more, of the amount of scooters in the park and stuff. And so that was something that I really noticed. And I'm just like, man.
Yeah, we rented a stroller and like the strollers were one half and the scooters were like almost probably double.
For sure.
For the rentals. And I was a little bit shocked and taken aback by that too.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I mean,
it's kind of crazy.
It's a reflection of a failed health system or medical system. It's a reflection of improper education, and on that, it's not an excuse, but everything in the stores is almost not everything, but most everything in the food processing, the seed oils, all that stuff is designed to make you want more. It's designed to make you eat more. That is the consumption piece of it. It's almost criminal.
This is what Dr. Jessica and I talked about during our inflammation talk, is that unfortunately, guys, the FDA or the food industry here is neither is looking out for your health. They're out to sell products. And if you don't know how to steer through that system, you're going to abuse your health. Your health's going to take a hit in the process because you just don't understand some of these basic things.
And a perfect example. So our boys, they like the organic, is it veggie straws or sticks? I don't know. Veggie straws, I think.
I think they're straws.
And they are good.
They're tasty.
But we were buying them organic, non-GMO, all that stuff, right? Because we definitely read the labels. I tossed a whole bag today. Because they've introduced canola oil.
Yeah, it's a new oil and it's they're using.
It's number 3 on the ingredient list. So if you guys don't know the list of ingredients on a label, when it gets towards the bottom, that's the least amount of that ingredient. So the number 1 ingredient is the most that's in there. If you look at a lot of the processed foods, it's typically the oils, the rapeseed oil, the canola oil, things like that aren't good for you. And that's what it's starting off with. And so this bag, we must have got it by accident or something. I looked at it and I tossed it. I tossed it. So, keep going.
So on that note, this is no different. I would say this is a question we get asked a lot for adult health. Obviously, this doesn't so much pertain to kids' health. But I have a lot of women asking to know what...
they change all the time.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because we have products we've loved and used, and then you looked at the ingredients and they've changed. So one of those is actually the coconut yogurt that our boys love. They started all of a sudden adding rice. And for our eldest, that's a food allergy, so we had to stop buying that brand. So yes, you have to even watch these natural, healthy companies.
You have to be
and just keep
rereading.
You just have to be on top of it. So let's talk fasting.
You want to go over myths first?
Yes, let's bust some myths this evening.
What's the first myth? So
I would say the first myth is that intermittent fasting works. Yep. Number one.
And I know I started intermittent fasting a few years ago, but the main reason is people stop eating the garbage in the morning. Mm-hmm. You know, the donuts, the foo-foo coffee drinks, the things like that. They stop that, and that's why so many people have success with intermittent fasting, is because they stop eating something that they shouldn't be eating in the first place, which is probably mostly sugar, right?
So think about the traditional American favorite breakfast foods. And we're really bad about it here in the US, you guys. You've got donuts.
Oh, that's traditional.
I mean, for a lot of families, what do you get on a Sunday morning after church? Yeah. Like that we did as kids. Mm-hmm. Donuts, you've got cereals. Yep. You've got Pop-Tarts. You've got waffles. Biscuits. I don't even know. Like what Dr. Jessica's saying, Carb City. Carbs and sugar. Think about Lucky Charms, you guys. I'll be the first to say I definitely had that as a kid.
They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
But if you look at the cereal content of sugar, oh my Lord. Yeah. If you think you're doing better by grabbing a Starbucks in the morning, if you're getting one of those Frappuccinos, you guys, you're getting more sugar than a can of soda.
That's insane.
And that is how you're starting your breakfast. And there's even seasonal ones of different drinks that are even worse. So that's where you may think you're starting out better, but you're totally spilling the beans first thing in the morning, right, and not helping your system. Now, like Paul was saying, the reason why intermittent fasting does work is because at least you're giving your body better choices by not feeding it anything, and you probably make up those calories in better ways the rest of the day.
True.
So you're choosing to put that stuff in later in the day, or you're just making a little bit better of choices enough to where you drop some weight.
Yeah.
But almost always patients will be like, oh, I started doing this, but I'm plateaued again.
Yeah.
So again, it's a temporary Band-Aid because you're not really using it the way it was intended to be used.
And fasting is actually based on the circadian rhythm. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So the way to utilize fasting the best is by optimizing it to your circadian rhythm. So what happens is your body has its own internal 24-hour clock. So similar to a clock, your body has different things that come up and down during the day. So cortisol, which is our stress hormone, that's what gets you up in the morning. It rises with the sunshine, and that rise of the sun in the morning, that's your get up and go, that thing to jump up and get everything going, metabolism, your energy, all those pieces. It comes down in the afternoon and into the evening, and then melatonin comes up so that sleep can happen. And so that's why if you hop several time zones, you will feel the effect to that system. You have what's called some jet lag. And it's because your body has that natural set point of in your time zone when those rhythms are supposed to happen. So if you shorten or lengthen that, it does mess with you. So that's one simple way that you can utilize that to your actual advantage, because there are points at which you should stop eating and start eating just within the day. I will say not intermittent fasting, but most Americans especially, we eat way too long. So talking about shortening that window of time down that we do eat.
So that'd probably be myth number 2 is the 6 meals a day type
Correct.
Stuff, right?
Let's eat every 2 to 3 hours.
Because that idea is that you're keeping your metabolism going, right?
Correct. You're going to help your body because you're going to burn more with eating less at a time. Again, crap. Total myth. You should not be eating every 2 to 3 hours. That actually hinders your metabolism in the long run because it doesn't make your body work very hard to digest food. And your body is lazy, you guys. It is only going to go to the thing of least resistance. So if you're constantly feeding it, it never has to switch from the glucose metabolism to the ketones metabolism. And you want your body to do both. You actually want that to happen because we should use both systems.
But your body actually prefers to run on ketones, right?
It does. Now, we don't always want it running on ketones. I will say there are points at which makes sense for that to happen. But the easy model is the glucose model. Gotcha. So if you constantly feed it sugars or things that are easy for it to digest, it becomes what's called metabolically not dysfunctional, but unflexible. Like it's not good to be unflexible.
It's harder to switch back and forth.
Correct. And your body, if you think about this, the way that I think is most important and where I always a lot of times take nutrition back to is what are the ancient roots of some of these things. It makes perfect sense that our ancestors during points in the winter where hunting would have been a little bit harder, they probably obviously didn't have access to fresh growing things. They're going to be most of the winter in ketosis.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, when fruits are growing, when things are pretty bountiful, they're going to spend a lot of the time that they're burning things in glucosis, which is that sugar metabolism. And you want your body to be able to do both. Your ancestors would have done both. So again, if they failed to get a kill, they weren't eating. Unless they had some like dried meat or something hanging around camp. And so your body's no different. Now, part of how you gain that flexibility is not grazing all day. So bringing in that eating window, making it tighter. This is different than intermittent fasting. This is like not eating for 12 hours straight. So trying to keep that eating window, for at least 8 hours or less. For women, I don't necessarily want them to pull that in too much tighter because they do have a different set point than men do if you're cycling.
Would that be maybe myth number 3 then, about women can fast?
Correct. So cyclic women, here's where the myth is, should not fast. That's a myth. That is safe for a cyclic woman to fast. Now, if you are menopausal, so you're no longer cycling, or you're a man, you're good to go. You're good to fast.
I'm definitely not cycling, or am I pregnant? That's for sure.
Obviously, if you're pregnant, again, different scenario. You should be cycling, but you're pregnant. So again, that would be a time not to fast. And then a cyclic woman, again, can do some of this, but you're definitely going to need a supervision of a Wellness Way doctor like myself or Dr. Jessica. And we're going to curtail it very, very carefully.
And the reason is because women have more hormones, right?
Correct.
And so
you can totally wipe them out
some shit up.
And jack up stuff, to put it scientifically, by fasting if you're cyclic and don't understand what you're doing.
But the other thing too is you got to have, like, you don't have to be like really, really healthy. You just have to have, like, everything has to be functioning properly in order to get to that place as a woman, right? So
correct.
You can't have a gunked up liver, or your hormones can't be all over the place, even though they are anyway.
Right?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we'd want to do some blood work, check on your body, see how things are going. And again, like, none of us Wellness Way docs are going to let a cycling woman fast without checking certain criteria. And then there may be times at which we would, and I have, but it's very, very carefully, and it is tied heavily to that person's cycle. But I've also checked their hormone levels. I've also checked their liver. I've done other things ahead of that with them. So if you're cyclic, this is not something for you to jump into without having some support. Yeah. If you're menopausal or you're a man, go for it. Cycling is awesome.
Yeah.
And for you guys, because you're not changing your hormones weekly, That's what cyclic women do. We have 4 different hormonal changes throughout the month. So if you don't understand those and how they're supposed to flow, and you fast in the wrong chunk of that time, you will mess up your hormones.
Is there any circumstance where a man shouldn't fast? Like,
yes. So if a man has liver issues where they're not processing things well, if they have high liver enzymes, if they have a high homocysteine, if they're super, super inflamed and they're just not processing things well, it's not that they shouldn't fast, but I wouldn't fast until we clean up and clear out some of that inflammation and help their body process things. So again, for a man in that circumstance, it wouldn't be the first thing that I would jump and suggest until we've done some legwork to clean their body up.
So to kind of sum up, I mean, a lot of functional medicine doctors, maybe even some medical doctors, nutritionists, dietitians probably have it
functional
all wrong.
Nutritionists, yeah. It's one thing that I've heard a lot of patients suggest or have had suggested to them if they've worked with other providers besides myself. And then we just sit there and have to kind of undo that thinking because they haven't been taught how to do it properly.
And it's kind of similar to our detox, which is very specific, right?
Yeah, exactly. So just similar to just food. You know, that's why we test food allergies. There isn't just one way to eat. It's figuring out what's best for each person. So it wouldn't be something that I would start right away unless I can evaluate and see some good criteria. Awesome, Colette. Yeah. It's talking to each person. A lot of people, again, like I was saying, it's more that eating window throughout the day where they're not eating properly or too much.
So I would actually have 2 questions for you, Colette. One, did you get or experience the keto flu during that process? And 2, was yours guided through that? So, because we've done keto, and that's kind of what started my process. But I'm actually basically doing 1 meal a day as a male, and I feel fantastic doing that.
Yep. Yeah. And this is where too, even beyond food allergies, it's about,
I think I hear him. So
I think I do too. It's about just dialing it in for each person. That's where, again, for a season, maybe keto is awesome. It may be that for longer. This is the hard part of food and why it is so confusing. And fasting is no different. This is why you have to really experience it for your body and decide if it's good for your body. And like we're saying, like if you feel like you're not processing things well, if you're super stressed, that would probably be another time that I would suggest not fasting. So if you have a lot going on, a lot on your plate, again, because you need kind of energy reserves to fast. So if some of that stuff is not there ready for your body to utilize, that would be a time to kind of pull away a little bit and take some time not to fast because your body needs those energy reserves for other processes going on. So kind of all those things are important. I will say it's really important to be hungry, but a lot of our body's signaling gets messed up if that eating pattern has been shifted over time. So again, that ghrelin-leptin cycle, that's your hunger and your satiety hormones that signal to the brain, hey, I'm hungry, and then, hey, I'm not. All that is really, really important. And sometimes too, like a fast is actually one great way to kind of reset that cycle and help your body to create a positive feedback loop that is working properly again. And that can be done really, really simply. Let's talk some benefits of fasting. So like, why would you even want to go down this road? Why would you even consider fasting? It's really simple, you guys. There's a lot of special things that happen only when you fast. And so why it's important is because these processes take energy. And so again, by fasting and not putting energy towards that digestion of food, that absorption of food, all these other processes, your body can do some more cleanup work. So one reason why fasting is really, really helpful is it does what's called autophagy. So autophagy is where it will break down cells and it will clean stuff out that it's not getting to regularly, in particular fat cells, because it's going to take them and open them up, especially if they're not needed fat reserves, that it's a good healthy percentage of fat for your body. So it's going to grab that. Once you start to fast, you move into what's called ketogenesis. And one of the benefits is you break down your fat and you turn it into glucose, you turn it into sugar through that process, which will eat away at some of your fat reserves, which for most of us is a good thing. Most of us are not in starvation mode and we have a little excess on our systems and on our hips, butts, thighs, bellies. That's where we store that excess fat. And that's one benefit of fasting. It'll open up those reserves and get rid of them. The other huge benefit, and why I typically move towards fasting with patients, is an immune system reboot. So at 72 hours, your immune system will completely do a reset and rebolster and reboot different cells from top to bottom. So especially for somebody's immune system that is struggling, and if you think about this, a lot of us that have had some type of sickness or illness that's lasted several days, all of a sudden, typically about day 3, even if you're really, really ill, you'll turn the corner. And this is why, because you're probably to a state where you're almost fasted when you're that sick. And that just all of a sudden supercharges that immune system, kicks it into gear. And that's where, even if you still aren't feeling great after that, you will notice that shift after a 3-day mark of being really quite down. So that's another interesting thing that a fast does do, and why you might consider it. The other piece of what I was talking about is that leptin ghrelin reset. So again, that signaling of that feedback loop will really help your body to understand and help you be mindful of how much food is really driving you. What a lot of us don't understand, and why it seems just impossible to some people mentally to do a fast, is because they are so emotionally tied to food. So if you think about it, food is very emotional. There's so many traditions that revolve around food. There's so many pieces that come around food. So the thought of just not eating is like overwhelming to some people. So I was just talking about, at this point, some of the benefits to fasting. So the fact that we get to eat up some of our fat reserves, which for most of us is good. We reboot our immune systems, which is amazing. And you reset that ghrelin leptin cycle in the brain. And you can also kind of emotionally see how tied you really are to food.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing
so
for a
emotional.
lot of people. But I will say this, that alone, not eating, intimidates a lot of people because they already know how tied they are to food. They're like, I can't do that. Just for them, it seems like a lot.
And I've been doing multi-day fasts for 3 months now.
Yep.
And
maybe longer.
I just broke a 48-hour fast. I started Saturday at dinner. And then last night I told you, I was
he was super hungry.
I literally got a pack of ground beef out and started defrosting it. I was like, I just got to eat. And then I got through it, but it was all emotional. I was like, nope. I went to a barbecue yesterday. I wasn't eating. I wasn't hungry there, but it wasn't until I got home.
It kind of cut up.
And I was like, I feel like I need to eat, but I didn't. So I did a 48-hour fast and broke it today.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I always say this. So when you're ready to try fast and you fit some of the criteria, Heather, this is where you start. So 24 hours is what I would consider the baseline for fasting to start with. So most easiest thing is to finish dinner and start your fast so that you go to bed and then continue through the next day and then break it.
And so, I mean, there is, we talked about this on one of our videos in the past, but autophagy starts at 20 hours of
Yes.
fasting. And so,
So right as you enter and finish in that 24 hours, that's where you're actually kicking into some of those fasting benefits. And that's where I always say start with that 24-hour mark, see how you do, plan on breaking it.
yep.
And then start with what Paul just did. Then start with a 48-hour fast.
Yeah.
And then from there, then my goal typically when I'm using this, especially as an immune system builder, is to definitely get you to 72.
Yeah.
And then to
Especially
also,
for men, correct.
Yes, for men, and to stagger these out. Like you don't want to go back to back to back unless you're experienced with fasting. Got to give a little break in there. Let your body kind of reboot on its own.
Well, I know when I first started, like the 40-hour mark, I really struggled.
Yeah, you're going to hit a wall somewhere as you start to build out your hours.
Like there's a big difference between, so when I first started, I was doing the 40, or I'd get to 40 hours, and that's when I felt like I had the flu.
Yep.
Like I'd get to that 40 hours.
He was kicking in those ketones hard.
And some of maybe some liver stuff too still going on. But it took me doing that a couple times to break through that piece. And then I think I ended up doing that 5-day fast. And so got to 5 days. That's the longest I've ever done.
Yep.
And I broke that one early too. I was supposed to do a full week, and I forgot to take my electrolytes.
Yes.
Which we'll get into. Like we should really kind of.
We'll give the do's and don'ts if you're going to do this, so that you have some things to support you while you're fasting that a lot of people forget, because it isn't just not eating.
Right.
So like we're saying, like there's a huge benefit to rebuilding your health to utilize this. Whether you're religious or not, it's something that multiple religions use around holidays. Like I was mentioning earlier, Ramadan, there's other Christian and Jewish beliefs of why they utilize fasting. And it's centered around certain festivals and dates. And they've done this since the dawn of time, you guys. And a lot of religions have used it as a way to help the health of the people.
Well, I think though too, kind of what I was getting at is there's a fine line between listening to your body.
Yes.
And listening to your emotions, because like last night was pure emotions. Like I said, I've done a 5-day fast, and here I am doing. I wasn't even at 48 hours yet. I was at 24 hours. I'm going, oh, I need to eat. It was just that was my emotions. That wasn't my body getting hit like I did before at 40 hours where I felt like I had the flu. So you have to really understand the difference between.
You have to be in touch with your body.
Yeah.
Like, and I even asked him last night, I was like, do you feel like you're not processing things well?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like you're to the point where you should stop?
Right.
Meaning that if you can just tell all signs are pointing to stop, then listen, please, to your body. Like, or if you just feel emotional, you need to break it. Because like I was saying, maybe you're too stressed out. Maybe there's too many things going on and your body does not have the energy to drive the fast.
Right.
Stop, please.
Well,
that's not a bad thing.
And what I've noticed too, I've continued to do a 48-hour fast almost every week from Sunday to Tuesday. And I do that on those days because like Monday when I'm in our office, like I'm in work mode.
We're just busy.
Yeah. And I don't even think about eating. And so by the time Monday night comes, I go to bed, do my stuff. And then Tuesday, I just know I got to make it to dinner. But when I'm home with the boys and they're eating constantly and they eat like dump trucks, it's like, there's this, like it's probably a primal thing where it's like, hey, there's food available. You should, let's do eat,
this. Let's
eat.
Like,
no, it's all emotions. It's so, cause now, I mean, with that, your body wants to store fat, right? Like,
it does. Like I was saying earlier when Paul ran upstairs real fast, like you don't want to be in starvation mode
all the time
and fasting. Yeah. Like that's not the happy place for your body to be. It's there for a reason. But let me tell you, as Americans, pointing back to our trip again, plenty of us do not need to eat the way that we're eating. Like we probably should be trying to get our body into starvation mode to help ourselves to be healthier. So there's a happy medium there where we probably should do some better jobs not stuffing our faces. And it's fun to enjoy a few things on vacation, but then like now we got to get back on the train. We got to get back to working out. We got to get back to our normal way of eating. We're not going to let that go for 365 days a year.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing too. Like when our family goes on vacation, I mean, I literally packed like a duffel bag of supplements and
we had full kitchens.
And there's still
shopped.
There's guardrails in the sense of we're still eating the wellness way lifestyle.
Yes.
We're following our food allergies as much as we can.
Choose our restaurants carefully. And we buy a lot of our food and house it in a condo with a full kitchen because I don't want to feel like crap on vacation. No. Like that's not what I'm there to do.
Right.
Like I want to feel good and go do the things that we had planned on doing, not sit back in the, condo because I don't feel good.
Right.
That's not fun either.
So why don't we get into like some basic steps on how to start?
Yes.
Unfortunately for the ladies, I think it's a little bit different. She already went through it where it's like, nope, this should be something that is guided so your hormones aren't getting off track. And
So if you're like late to mid 50s, 60s, and you're no longer cyclic, have at it, women. So if that's you fit into this category.
So I think the first thing is intermittent fasting doesn't exist, right?
Yes. So you can choose to shorten that eating window down, which for most of us is a good idea. But I don't consider that intermittent fasting.
Right.
If you basically decide to eat from 10 to 6 and try to keep again to that 8-hour window that I was talking about
of not eating
of that's a good thing, but that's intermittent fasting really doesn't do anything.
So I think what she's saying though is for a 24-hour cycle.
Correct. So yes, a 24-hour fast if you are a cyclic woman and do not know how to do this with your cycle will mess up your hormones.
Because of the hormone
Because there's
changes.
4 times that they change throughout the month. And if you don't know how to time that properly, you will mess up your hormones.
And that's
even with 24 hours, even though that's that shorter window of time.
And it's not as cookie cutter as like every woman's hormones flip at the same time of the cycle, right?
That's where women's cycles on a healthy woman are anywhere from 26 to 30 days on average. So those flips where that happens different for every woman. And it comes down to if your hormones are even balanced. So I would only fast a cyclic woman if I know we have worked on balancing their hormones first. And making sure that all those flips of hormones are actually happening properly to begin with. And if their hormones are already off, then fasting is out of the question until I can work on that piece.
And so like an example that I would think of is let's say a woman wants to lose some weight and they decide to fast, but it's at the wrong time because of their hormones. That could increase their cortisol, which is counterproductive, right?
Correct. And what it will do is it will increase cortisol. It will pull your progesterone and your testosterone down that pathway towards more cortisol. So one, you're losing those hormones, which is going to make you feel like blah. 2, it's going to increase your estrogens, which is going to make you feel like a crazy lady. And then 3, if cortisol is high, whatever weight you dropped off temporarily will come back with a vengeance because then your body's in fight or flight mode, which is very unhealthy, especially as a woman. And it's going to hang on to everything because if it feels like you're literally or figuratively running from a bear, all your hormones and all the resources stay on you because your body's like, nope, we might need these. We might need these. We don't know. So that's where a woman that is needing or wanting to lose a little bit of weight that is cyclic, fasting without Dr. Jessica or I or one of the other wellness way docs is not good for you. And you definitely should look at other pieces, like why are we retaining the weight?
Yeah.
Is it a hormone issue, like what we're talking about? Are the hormones just not even balanced to begin with?
Right.
Is it a thyroid issue? Is it a gut issue? Is it an immune system issue? Your body doesn't want to be overweight. So if you're not one that is, what I would say, not giving yourself those healthy habits, that's one thing.
Right.
But if you are really trying to eat clean, and you're trying to get your fitness and your steps and you're moving your body and you're tackling those things good and consistently, something's up.
Yeah.
I always say at that point, women, it shouldn't be that hard. It really shouldn't. Something is off if you're working that hard and the scale is not moving.
But this is also right in line with like women working out too hard at different times in their cycle. So that's where like we have a graphic that says, hey, like generally speaking, this time of the month, a lady should not be hitting it hard.
Correct.
Right. And so because of that, like we say, it's like, have you ever worked out so much and you actually gain weight? Well, it's because of that.
That's why.
And so sorry, ladies, but
yeah,
what's something that the ladies can do? Like, could they go for a walk after their meals? Could they start doing stuff like that too?
Yes. Basically, like for all my cyclic women, as long as their energy is okay, like they don't feel like they should be on the couch and they're tanked, get your steps in.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy for you to get up off the dinner table and go for a walk. That's one of the best ways to digest your food, to kind of kick up your metabolism for that dinner. Do not eat 3 hours before you're going to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So if you are consistently in bed at 9, you got to finish eating by 6.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to have an earlier dinner time. Right. Maybe you're eating and going to bed, and that's a problem. Yeah. That's a problem for men too. You can't digest your food that fast.
Well, and generally speaking too, like avoiding sugar would be another piece. And I mean, let's talk about processed foods real quick. So, in this day and age, especially in the United States, processed foods, they're so prevalent.
Yes.
We eat processed foods, but it's very, very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to eat something that's processed, organic, non-GMO, hands down.
Yep.
And then what we look for something that has the most or the smallest amount of ingredients. So, our boys, they like a certain type of chip. Well, there's 3 ingredients. It might be a potato, coconut oil, and salt, or something like that. Yep. And it's still processed, but it has the least amount of ingredients.
Correct.
Now, ultimately, it'd be avoiding that stuff at all costs. You want whole foods.
Farm to table. If it comes in a box or a bag or whatever, you really, like I always say, your grandparents had it right, guys. It's actually cheaper that way too. So if you're feeling the squeeze like we are with your grocery bills climbing higher, guys, a head of lettuce and some broccoli. I mean, but that and some hamburger patties, that's not that expensive to feed your family that way.
Right.
It really does save you money, and it is better for your body. Yeah. But I think a lot of people sometimes get intimidated by that, or maybe they're not. So some people think, I have to have these grandiose recipes. Keep it simple, you guys. Like, there's nothing wrong with a homemade coleslaw and some burgers.
And
like
the idea
it can be very easy.
The idea of red meat increasing cholesterol is
also a myth.
I was gonna say bullshit.
Oh, well, bullshit. There you go. Bullshit.
It's
so you guys, it all comes down, which unfortunately goes to the Kerrygold lawsuit. If you haven't seen that, again, if things are raised the way they would have been raised in nature or close to that, they are going to be healthy. So if your beef is 100% grass-fed, start to finish, doesn't have hormones, doesn't have antibiotics, whatever else they like to do. Your dairy, if you're going to do 100% grass-fed butter, should also match that label or be labeled properly, which is unfortunately what happened with Kerrygold.
Yeah.
So again, you guys, these are easy things. Another myth, which is why what Colette was saying does ring true for a lot of ladies who lived through the 80s. Fat is your friend. A lot of women who've lived through the 80s are very fat phobic still. And that's why purposely doing something like keto can be beneficial when you're doing some more healthy fats, because you do need those healthy fats to burn fat.
Yep.
Like that is an actual fact. And a lot of women have become really afraid of fat. And that's where, changing your diet and putting in some more healthy things of fat wise, like avocados and nuts and seeds and olives and
fat off the ribeye.
Yes, fat on the meat. Again, if that animal was raised well, that all
Right.
benefits your body, you guys. Right. So that's important.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of us, again, are just like very scared about some of these things.
Well,
but that's where you got to know your food. Who produced that? Don't just trust a label.
Yeah.
Ideally, these people or have had some type of contact or third party validation. Yep. So that what you're buying is what you're supposed to be buying.
I think one of the biggest problems is not just women, but everybody. If you're like trying to lose weight, we all go towards the salad. It's like, oh, I'm gonna eat salad, and you're actually being counterproductive. Yeah. One, you should have your food allergies tested, because somebody like moi, I have kale. So like if I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do a kale smoothie in the morning, that's going to hinder whatever.
Juice and kale.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy, not good for you.
Yeah, so like going that route, but the other thing, a part of that is like a salad isn't going to provide you the satiety of holding you off for dinner. So like,
yeah,
you don't want to just be like, well, I'll just have a salad for breakfast. Well, by 9 a.m. you're going to be hungry. Yeah. So
you need the protein, you need the fat,
and
like plants can't give you all of that.
Right. And so, go for the things that are high in fat, that are healthy, that are all the things we talked about. Like I'm not going to lie. I've eaten a ribeye for breakfast. I've eaten burgers for breakfast.
Meat is a very popular thing in our house for breakfast.
And
bacon.
Yeah. The more that we dive into this and look at things like veganism and vegetarian, the more I realize that is so far off of being healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It may just be my opinion, and I'm obviously not a medical professional, but we see it with our glandulars and things like that.
Yeah.
It's really meant to be. It is the most nutritious food you can eat.
Organ meats.
Yeah, like
nose to tail. That's where the organs used to be prized. Even just eating the muscle meats, like what we're talking about, you really need to go a lot deeper for your nutrition. And you guys, liver is really inexpensive to go buy. I personally am not going to eat it.
Yeah.
And that's why I take our glandulars. Because, organ meats, if you look at animals, and they're a good example of this, and how they kill and what they prize and fight over and eat first, it's the organ meats.
Well, we talked about this a little bit our last video, because I just had all of my blood work done.
Mm-hmm.
And because of my diet, where it actually is mostly meat.
Yep.
I consume a lot of meat, very minimal carbs, very minimal vegetables,
mm-hmm.
a little bit of fruit. My numbers got better because of the organ meats.
And for anybody, if you're missing that nutritional piece, just taking some glandulars, like what we're talking about, especially ours, because they're pure, again, they're potent, they're certified. There's other companies that do a great job too, if for whatever reason you don't want to use us. But I always say you get the most bang for your buck with our supplements.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference. You're going to get something really pure, really potent, and for the price, the best price. And that's something that, again, if you have these holes and gaps in your nutrition, just that alone will cause you to gain weight.
So
let's talk
go ahead.
Tools for fasting. So let's say you meet the criteria, you're in a good place, you're ready to try a fast, and you're not a cyclic woman. So what are the tools and tips that you would give to make that a good experience?
Put a lock on the refrigerator. No. So the idea from from working with Jacqueline, Dr. Jessica, and the research that I've done on my own, you can have up to 45 calories and not break a fast.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I'd say that's fairly consistent, but right. Yeah.
So
for most.
So what I do is I take, this is not a Wellness Way product, but I take this. It's called Fortigen. There's no crap in it. But I take this because I've worked very hard to put on a lot of muscle. And when I fast, I don't want my body to go into catabolis and break down my muscle. Fat. I want it to break down the fat. And so I choose this because it's equivalent to 50 grams of protein and it's only 4 calories. So not only does this help me or help my body curb hunger, that's also providing me the 50 grams of consumable protein so that I keep my muscle and burn my fat. And so I'll take a couple of scoops of this a day. And like I said, it fits our lifestyle. It's sweetened with stevia. There's no crap in it. And the studies that they have done, it's actually shown that it's actually more bioavailable like meat without the increase in glucose. Now, so this is what I take. You don't have to do that. There's plenty of people that just do water and
or bone broth.
Yep.
So I always suggest that to patients that are new to fasting. Just drink some bone broth, because even if you have several cups in the day, you're not going to hit more than what Paul is saying at that 45 gram mark.
So now here's a perfect example. Here's our bone broth protein that we sell in our office and we love because of how it's made. This is the problem. It's 100 calories. So one scoop of this, which is only equivalent to 25 grams of protein, would kick you out of the fast.
Yeah, break your fast. Hence why the broth is good, because it's not as condensed and concentrated as the protein powder. Beyond that, what else should you be doing besides water?
Electrolytes.
Yes.
Electrolytes.
So think about it, you guys, as your body is flushing things out for a detox or with a fast. You gotta have the electrolytes to keep your system hydrated.
And I'm 99% sure that's when I did when I was shooting for a week fast. I made it to day 5. I went to bed, and then I woke up the next morning or in the middle of the night, and I was like just delirious, kind of just. And I realized that day I forgot to do my electrolyte powder, and I think that's why at day 5 I was really struggling because my body was like, nope. Ain't gonna happen. So I ended up eating at like midnight that night.
He's like, I'm gonna go eat. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to sleep.
And so
hope that goes well.
Yeah, I haven't attempted a longer day fast like that, but I'm doing multi-day fast 3-4 days. But
so like I said, I don't care, especially here in Colorado. I harp on my patients to have electrolytes. There are a lot of them that are really, really good about drinking water because it is dry here.
Right.
But if you don't have the right electrolytes in your system to hold that water in you, you're peeing it out, and it's not doing you any good to help your body.
And your body, even though like for our ladies, we talked about fasting and you may not like what we're saying about that, your body is intelligent in the fact that it's going to process or work on what it needs to work on. And if you're not giving it electrolytes even during this process, it's going to mess stuff up, kind of like.
Correct. Even for a man, like what Paul is describing can happen because it's easy during this process to get off. And so we're trying to give you those tools that we've learned to keep you successful and keep you from kind of skewing yourself in a negative direction. And so electrolytes, there's Celtic sea salt, there's pink Himalayan salt. There are electrolyte packets like what we're talking about.
We like LMNT.
That's what we have in our office.
And Numa.
Both are sweetened with stevia.
The Numa is coconut based, which if you can't do coconut, the LMNT is good.
It is awesome. So our goal is to provide clean products or recommendations, whether we sell it or not. We'll always throw out there what we think is good.
Well, and then supplements.
Yes.
So when I fast, I kind of cut my regimen down to half, I would say. I'm definitely taking the glandulars. I increase my liver glandular just to make sure my liver's, gonna run at optimum speed. I only take a few of our herbs, but aloe, that's a low calorie thing you can still take.
Yep.
Um,
Aloe vera juice.
Aloe vera juice, yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Just aloe in our house.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, I mean, all tips and tricks. And then so I had a patient today, he's completed a 24 and a 48, and he's like so pumped to get ready to do the 72.
That's awesome.
He really was like, he looked at me with deer in the headlights when I told him we need to do this. So he has some health concerns where our main goal behind doing this with him is to rebuild his immune system so it can function properly. Because he has some markers that are off in his blood work. And he was just smiling ear to ear. He's like, I know I'm going to get to the 72. He's like, I got a trip, but when I get back, I'm going to do it. I'm going to nail it down. And he is just so excited because once you understand the power of this for your body, it's amazing. Like it really, and it is empowering to kind of take back that piece of your health and like take charge of it.
Well, and I think for men too, like I know I feel like even though we went on vacation, I didn't fast while we were on vacation, and I didn't feel as good. I felt more sluggish because my body's working on, processing all the food that I was eating. And yeah, I mean, I did pack on some pounds. That's why I'm doing some fasting now, on top of what I normally do. Cause I think I've done 2 48-hour fasts in a week.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to just start again tonight.
Yep.
But anyway, I do feel better as a man. Like I feel healthier.
And for men, one side benefit, which we have not mentioned tonight, is it will raise your testosterone naturally. So for men, if you want to increase your testosterone 20%, I think it's 20%, or is it closer to 30%? I think it's only 20.
20%.
I think it's 20.
Yeah.
All you have to do is fast.
For how long?
For, I believe it's 48 hours. Does that sound right?
I don't know about
that. I would have to verify that. I think it's 2 days.
Yeah.
To raise your testosterone by 20%. So it's just a nice side benefit for men. Ladies, if you're cyclic, let me just mention this. If you walk 2 big walks a day, morning and evening, I really feel that alone will shift a lot of your metabolic pieces. It doesn't take a lot to go out and walk for about 45 minutes twice a day.
Well, and a lot of it too is expectations. I mean,
correct.
There's realistic expectations.
Yes. So let's go over to for cyclic women, so you're not feeling left out in this conversation. Healthy weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds per week for a cyclic woman. That is what is sustainable. That is what is healthy for you. So if you're doing more than that, you're going to yo-yo your system. Like you're doing something that is not sustainable in the long run. So again, all these rapid weight loss things are not good. It's a Band-Aid. Like it will come back with and then some.
Especially all the gimmicks too.
Yes.
Like, drink pineapple juice for 5 days straight.
Guys, there's no easy button. Fasting still too is not an easy button. Even for men and menopausal women. Like there has to be intent. You have to have the right tools. You have to be in the right mind space, have the right stuff going on. It's not an easy button for them. And for those women that are cycling where this is really just not an option, just get out and walk. 45 minutes twice a day. I think you would be shocked what that short time does for your weight, if that is the main concern. And that does not take anything but your time.
Right. So going back to other tools, what about working out while you're fasting?
Be very careful. So for a new faster, that I would be very careful about that. Only if you feel up for it. If you have some experience fasting, you can probably do some workouts fasted, but be a little bit careful if you are new to fasting, to working out, because you could then tip yourself in the wrong direction.
True.
Which isn't what you're trying to do.
The other tip I'd give too is just try and occupy your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
do something else.
You know, like
buy a book and read it.
Yeah. But also too, like if you feel like your body can go longer, but you're hungry like I was last night, like just wait. Just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait an hour. I'm gonna drink some water. I'm gonna go do something else, and then I'll see if I'm gonna be hungry. But if you're like, oh, I'm hungry, and you're just like, I'm just gonna break it, then you're gonna break it. You're probably gonna, go raid the pantry or the refrigerator. So the tip is, occupy your mind and just wait. Like as long as you feel like you're doing good, there's not going to be like like you feel like you have the flu. Just wait a minute.
Yeah, give yourself some time.
You give yourself some time, and your body will adapt. And especially like water, like all these processed crap foods send signals to the brain and cause apoptosis and things like that make you want to eat all of that stuff all the time. And it like I said, it should be criminal on some of this stuff that they put these ingredients in there to cause a reaction in your body because they know it triggers a neurotransmitter that's going to make you want to eat more of it. It's just insane. So
it is in other countries, you guys. That should really irk you. That I realize other countries, especially in Europe, are overweight as well, but it's not like it is here.
Well, there's man, I just saw it. I should have saved it. Like there's I literally just saw on Facebook, doesn't mean it's real, but I've seen it before where it showed like it was something like a Quaker oat cereal, and it showed the ingredients for America for Quaker oats, and then it showed it for Europe. And Europe by far had like 4 ingredients, and ours had like 20. And so
a lot of people, not that I'm endorsing you to drink Coke, but if you go grab a Coke in Italy, and you grab one here, they will taste totally different. And that's because the ingredients are completely different. So they're not allowed to use things there that they do use here. Mexican Coke is another one too. A lot of people will be like, oh, I love the taste of Mexican Coke. And it's because they use completely different flavorings and different things because they're not allowed to here. There, but they are here. And that's why it creates a different profile, different taste.
Wow.
It's just sad because, again, a lot of this stuff is just if you're not knowledgeable and vigilant on a consistent basis, it can get the best of you here.
Well,
because it's designed to.
Yeah.
So you just have to be smart.
Well, and the other thing the ladies can do, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they can start the no sugar, right?
Yeah.
Like that's something that they could do. So
yes.
if you're not familiar, we do these months where we have a no sugar program.
Correct. It's on our Wellness Way Lifestyle Facebook page. Yep. So if you hop on there, the guide is on there. You can join the group.
Yeah, it's a packet. It tells you what you can have, what you can't have. Like that is a different tool that you can utilize in no sugar. And I mean, we shouldn't even have to be having this conversation of sugar being bad, but you're talking about sodas.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of sugar that's in those are just ridiculous. And so
some of those Starbucks drinks don't even hold a candle to that, you guys. It's really scary. Like, and there's all these people going out having them. Oh, that's just my Friday afternoon treat. I'm like, okay.
Or they have that in the morning, then they have their
and then they're out for happy hour. Yeah, or they have their Red Bull in the afternoon, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So cool. Yeah, so ladies, you again, if you're cyclic, if you're looking for other tools, you can utilize the no sugar. And again, if you feel like you have some good habits and you're stuck, even for men, it's time to get tested. Yeah, like something's going on.
Yep.
Something's not working right. And like we're gonna tie it all back in. The time is now.
Yep.
Invest in your health now because that investment will pay dividends down the road.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to, have fun, be out with the family, doing things like Universal?
Without a scooter and that stuff,
Like, or do you have something else that you want to enjoy that you can't right now because of your health?
Yeah.
That investment is priceless, and you do it once, you do it well. You don't have to do it again as long as you keep these good habits up.
I'm really fearful for the next generation for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But most of it is health. Like you see, you know, if you see a kid that's overweight, I mean, I hate to assume, but you could probably look at their parents and look at their habits, and they're going to be overweight.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say, I mean, kids are resilient. It doesn't always look like that, but I mean, teaching kids good habits. I mean, like our boys, I mean, they'll, if we gave them crap, they'll eat crap.
But not much of it.
Yeah, but
they'll be like, "What is this?" And I'm done.
Yeah, but you know, even our oldest man, he knows his food allergies like that.
Yeah.
And you know, he'll go away with grandma and grandpa or something like that, and he'll be like, "Oh, I can't have that. Does it have that in there?"
Yeah.
So you know, he knows, and it's because we're trying to pass that good habit down to him.
Yeah.
Our boys, they'll eat Brussels sprouts, no joke, but it's because we put good fat in them, we put bacon, we put avocado oil, things like that, and so they will eat Brussels sprouts. They love sauerkraut. They love things like that. I never really ate sauerkraut growing up. I know you did because of you know, your grandparents not
German
being
descent.
from here. So
yeah.
But you know, it's just I that's why I love what we do, is because we can give this guidance like tonight for free, and hopefully affect the next generation to come.
Yeah, ripple it out. You know, like my shirt. Like our goal is to create that health revolution, like of real health, and it starts with knowledge. It starts with busting the myths, guys. There's no easy button when it comes to your health. But when you have it dialed in, it isn't hard. It isn't a yo-yo. It isn't a roller coaster that you're just like stuck on.
Right.
It does get easier when you get to a place where you're in charge of your body again.
Yeah.
It really does get better.
Yeah. I got back from vacation. I knew what I needed to do. It's
yeah.
Like, nope. I need to fast.
Yep.
I need to do this.
You know the tools. You break it down. You know how to take care of your body. And it's like you have the manual. A lot of you are sitting out there being like, I don't know where the user manual is. You don't even know because nobody has sat and taught you how to do that.
Right.
And that's what we're so passionate about and why we love to teach on these different topics, because nobody's taught you how to do it. And you could be doing something you thought was good or trying to start something and it maybe isn't. So let's just help you go faster.
And
like, don't go slower. Let's help teach you how to go faster.
Yeah, don't use it as an excuse, but recognize that you've been set up to fail.
Yes.
Hey, you have a headache. What do? Take Advil. Take Tylenol. That you've been programmed. Like, you know, what do you say in the inflammation talk? What's the nighttime blah 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 blah?
Coughing, sniffling. Yeah. They don't even use that commercial anymore, but everybody knows it.
Milk does the body good.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like that stuff. Like you've been conditioned, you've been set up to fail by these corporations that don't give a shit about you.
Yep.
And that's where we're here to change that. We're here to do the opposite and like Jacqueline said, be the health revolution. And so I think we've covered everything. It's an hour and 8 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So thanks for hopping on, guys.
Yes, thanks for hopping on, participating.
As always, like you know, we always appreciate you guys if you share this and you like and you comment and you engage with us. We do like doing this. And if you see some bull crap out there like biohack your hormones, or you know, here you can, you know, intermittent fast and lose 10 pounds, like share this. We're not going to agree with everybody, or they're not going to agree with everything we say, but we see this every day. And so, but like tonight's video, you know, it took some stuff that we're doing personally, that we're right here with you, and then somebody reaching out and saying, hey, like, do you guys have a video on this? Somebody last time talked about a Costco video. We're working on that.
Coming.
It'll happen.
It's coming. Costco tour.
It may not be a video format like this. It may be in a form of a reel or something like that.
Yeah, we may have to. We're figuring out the best way to do it because our Costco's here are really busy. So we're going to figure out how to do that.
But as always, guys, thank you for joining in.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week.
All right. See you soon.